So in this video, we're going to take a look at home recording stuff. We're going to look at computers, audio interfaces, DAWs, and then other stuff that you'd need or don't need. So depending on your situation. So stay tuned. Let's talk about computers. So I have a Mac Studio. I did not opt for the Ultra bad boy. I went for the M1 Max because I don't really need anything that insane. This is pretty insane as it is. It works really well. I basically use it for video editing and my music editing, audio software, whatever you want to call it. It works great. It has, like I said before, little to no latency. And that's big, especially with music, because when you record something, you don't want to hear it, and then when you play it back, it's slightly off from where you played it. Like, you can record it and record it right to the click, and it sounds perfect, and then when you play it back, it's off because it moved, because there was latency. There was a slight delay from when you played the note to where it actually recorded the note. This thing is nice, powerful, fast, and I don't have that issue. Also, the interface makes a big difference, and we'll talk about the interface next, but I just wanted to. Computers. You don't need anything this crazy, even still. But I was in the market. I had my old iMac, which I will take you over to in just a second, for about 10 years, and that thing was getting old and slow, and it was starting to break down. I actually went through a hard drive. I had to change a hard drive on the iMac, which was not fun. But I did it. And I waited for something new that was going to be great. And I was waiting for a new iMac, and they announced those 24-inch iMacs. I liked them, but I was like, I'm not sold on it yet. And then the Mac Studio came out, and I was like, that's what I want. But I didn't like that they separated the monitor. So to me, it was a lot more money than it probably should have been, but totally worth it for me, because for what I do, what I use it for. So. Yeah, so that's computers. You don't need anything this crazy. Let's take a look at the iMac real quick. So this is, hello there, my old iMac. I'm recording this on my iPhone so that I can kind of control it a little easier. My camera rig is getting on the large side. So for now, this is my old iMac, which I do still keep here for strange reasons, I guess. I still have files on here. I did transfer everything onto an external hard drive when I was done with it, and I do have them on there, but I like having the backup just in case. It's like redundancies after redundancies. And yeah, so this is the old iMac. It is a 2011? Yes, 2011 iMac. It worked really great for many, many years. And like I said, eventually I had to change out the hard drive, which I don't know if you can see it close. If you look close enough, you might still be able to see the suction cup from when I had to pull the screen off to change the hard drive. That was not fun. But yeah, so I did that, and this worked great for a long time. So, and this was, not a terribly expensive computer, comparable to most of the nice computers I've bought in my lifetime. My first Gateway, I think when it came out, was like $1,200. The Dell computer I got after that was like around $1,200. This guy was probably around the same thing, was probably around $1,200. And when it came out, you don't even need that. You can get a $500 computer with a good amount of RAM. You can get one with a decent processor and just need hard drive space. And it will do you just fine for music recording. The only other thing you need if you buy a PC is a monitor, but if you buy a laptop, same thing. Look for a decent amount of RAM. Doesn't need to be tons, like 16 gigs of RAM is probably fine. Look for a decent processor and some hard drive space. And even if you don't buy a computer with a huge hard drive, you can always buy an external hard drive. I have many. I have that guy back there. I have that guy there. I have that guy there. I got the toaster with 2 in there. So I got a lot of external hard drives for storing extra stuff, but yeah. So definitely computers. That's computers. Now on to audio interfaces. So audio interfaces. All right, this is my old audio interfaces, if you couldn't tell from all the dust. It was very basic, but it got the job done. It had a guitar input in the front. It had a headphone input. And on the other side of it, it had one XLR input for microphones or whatever. So you had your 2 methods of input. There was no MIDI, which was fine. I didn't need it. And it, like I said, it was relatively cheap at the time. I think this was like $100 when it came out, maybe 100, 150. This one particular unit came with Pro Tools because M Audio at the time was the only gear that worked with Pro Tools. So I had this guy with Pro Tools and it was fine. It has its own built-in guitar sounds, which are not the greatest, but you know, it works. If you have nothing else, it gets the job done. But yeah, so that is audio interfaces. What I'm using now, a little different. The Mark of the Unicorn is the newest one I have. I talked about that in my studio tour, so I'll be really quick about it. It's got 2 preamp inputs. The preamp is good because it gives you more gain. You'll have a nicer, more powerful sounding input through a preamp. There's a bunch on the back. I think this one has 8 total. The ones on the back have no preamp. That's the only thing that annoys me about this thing. I don't need more than the front 2 anyway. I did get the Focusrite originally because it also had 8 inputs. These were all preamp, and I used to record acoustic drums. I would run 8 microphones, record acoustic drums, and then, you know, dump it to a track, and then, or, you know, a couple tracks, and then, you know, record everything else separately, because I don't need anything more than that. But this guy, nowadays, when I'm running drums through USB and through drum programs and things like that, I don't need all the tracks in the back. I just need the front 2. I need a microphone and I need my guitar input. The microphone I have running, this guy is running into the preamp. The preamp is where my microphone is plugged into, which is this microphone, which is the Audio-Technica 4033 or something like that, I think. Great microphone. That's running into the preamp. Preamp is running into the audio interface. That is the Mark of the Unicorn. The Focusrite was my old one. I still have it just in case I ever needed a backup. It still works. It's just not as good as this one. This one has very little to no latency because it's running through Thunderbolt. This one is an old Mac format called Firewire, and it has some latency, so, but it does work. So just not as well as this one. And that's really it for audio interfaces. Now we're going to take a look at DAWs or recording software. So these are the things you need to record onto. So I use Logic Pro. There are a lot out there. There's Pro Tools. But we'll just keep it simple. So I use Logic Pro. Reaper's a good cheap option if you're looking for something that's not terribly expensive, and it works just fine. Does all I'd say all the same things that the other ones do. So let's open Logic Pro because that's the one I use. And here we are. So it automatically opens me into a template, which is, I've explained before, I've created to help me with writing to kind of make the process a little faster, so I don't have to open up a new track and then plug in all my guitar plugins and everything. Everything's there. It's set. It's ready to go. So what I will do is, let's open a new song just to show you. This is how this works. It loads quick. And I have everything I need right here. All I have to do is plug into my audio interface. I just have to make sure my audio interface is on, plug into it, and once I arm the track like this, I'm ready to record. And you'll see when I arm the track, this will light up. There it goes. And I already have it set for a specific amp just to start with. And that's usually what I do, just have something ready to go. And then if I want to reamp it later, I can. I could even, I can record the guitar track and then I can go in and I can literally change it. If I don't want to use the Archetype Petrucci, I can use the Archetype Gojira. I can also use, I have a Tone Lib. I have Amplitude 5. I have the Apple ones, which I don't use that much. I use them a couple times just to see what I can do with them. It's Apple. Oh, there it is, amps and pedals. Yep, okay. I don't use it that much, as you can tell. And yeah, so you can get your guitar tones out of that, your bass tones, whatever, because they have bass amp designers as well. It's very handy. It works. It doesn't sound terrible. They're not bad at all. I just prefer the ones I have already, like the Neural DSP ones I like a lot. The Amplitude ones I like. That's really it. I don't have a ton of plugins because I have everything that I need. I know what I use mostly. I have a couple of compressors I use. I have some Waves ones. I have, just a bunch. And I use a lot of the stock ones because honestly, there's nothing wrong with them. They work fine. So every once in a while, I'll find something new that sounds really great. And that's a plugin that I might buy. But yeah, that's pretty much it for recording software. You don't have to get too crazy with it. I mean, I can do so much in this one piece of software anyway. I can record any instrument I want to through MIDI. I have a MIDI controller to help out with that. Bought one of these cheaper $100 ones just so that I can, I can do drum tracks by hand. Or I can do like string parts. I can record some piano, like melody stuff. And, there's a lot of things I can do with it. Just saves me time in the long run when I'm recording. I don't have to sit here and literally right click and create MIDI region and then literally go in and plug in all the notes individually, which just takes a while. I still do it that way occasionally, but I try not to. When I don't have to, I use the keyboard to just play out the rhythms and stuff like that. But yeah, that's audio interfaces. Most of them aren't that different. What you tend to do is you record your tracks. I'll have the drums recorded. I'll record the bass, record the guitars. I always set it up this way, even though I may not use clean guitars, so I can delete them if I don't want to use them. And then if I have vocals, I'll record vocals, and I do them all individually. When I do vocals, though, on my audio interface, there's a mute button. I hit the mute button. It mutes the speakers so it doesn't come through the microphone, and it switches to the headphones. I usually grab my headphones. I usually put one on, and I like to have one off so I can hear myself better, and I will sing that way. So anybody outside the music room thinks I'm just singing for no reason whatsoever, but I know I'm recording, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then once everything's recorded, I'll go into mixing. You can literally there's a decent mixer in here. You add your effects, whatever you want to add, get it to how you like it, and then you bounce it down or dump it down. For me, bouncing it down on the Mac, you hit Command B, and it will take you to the bounce writing a song, and then you can go to MP3. You can title your track whatever you want to title it, and this will be the title. You can bounce it as an MP3. You can go to PCM and bounce it as a WAV file. You can bounce it as a AIFF file. The choice is yours, how you want to do it. I tend to do MP3 until I'm doing an album, and then once I do the album, I'll dump them as a WAV, and then I'll upload the waves. They just take a lot more memory that way, but they better quality, so I do that for the albums. You can write ID3 tags, which basically just kind of tags it in everything. So if I want the track information, it'll just be written to it. I tend to do that in iTunes. You don't have to do it here. You can, but you don't have to. You can change your bit rate to make it higher. Obviously higher is better quality, but of course it takes more memory. It's like anything. And it tells you 91 megabits. No, that's megabytes. Of free disk space, 4 minutes, 16 seconds. What I'm actually bouncing here is literally nothing, so I'm not going to bounce anything. But that's how you would dump it down, and there you have a track. If you just record everything MIDI, you can literally just export the MIDI. You can export the whole selection as MIDI. You can also export it as an audio file, even if it is MIDI. Doesn't matter. It's up to you. You can even export it right into Final Cut if you're doing a video and you want to just add music to the video. There's a lot of really good options with this, which is why a lot of people who are in the Apple ecosystem kind of stay within the Apple ecosystem, because their programs play really nice together. I also use Final Cut, so I use it for videos. As you can see, there's my ugly mug. There I am. It was the Guitar Pro 8 video I just put out. Editing and adjusting time and things like that. But it works really well hand in hand with other Apple products, other Apple software, I should say. So, yeah. So that's kind of why it works well, and that's why I do it. And that should do it for recording software. Okay, so for everything else, aside from recording software, you have your equipment. You got your microphones, your guitars, whatever it is you're recording. So if you're recording an acoustic instrument, let's say like a cello, okay, I have a cello. I need a microphone to record it. My cello does not have a pickup. So there are a bunch of different types of microphones you can use. I tend to use my condenser microphone, which is the Audio-Technica, the AT4033. You can use just a regular ribbon microphone. You can use any kind of microphone you have. It'll work. It's just you get a better quality sound with a better quality microphone. So unfortunately, the quality of the microphone does depend on the price. That's kind of how it works. So I always kind of opt for what I can afford. I don't go crazy. I don't own any Neumann microphones. I'd love to, but they're just so expensive. I never really saw the need for it. They sound amazing, but I don't need it. I'm perfectly happy with my Audio-Technica. And that one I feel like is a midline microphone. It was somewhere around $600, I think, when it came out, which is a lot for a microphone, but for a recording microphone for vocals and things like that, it's perfect. It's what I needed. And I've used it for amps. I've used it for the cello. I've used it for acoustic guitar. I use it for everything. So it's my mic. It's my main mic for recording. All the other mics I have are just backup mics I can use for other things if I want. Like if I'm recording an acoustic, I like to put two mics on it, one by the sound hole, and then I usually put one by the 12th fret to get some of the string noise and some of the higher end sounds. The one by the sound hole gives you all the lower end sounds, the lower frequencies, I should say. And yeah, so they serve their purposes. It's always good to have more than one microphone, but if all you have is one microphone, it will work just fine. When I started, I only had I think it was an SM57. It was the flat one. I still have it. It's in a bag down there. That was the only mic I had. I used it to record drums. I borrowed mics from friends, and just to do recordings, and I would set them up with the drums. I talked about that in a video before, how Jerry and I rigged the 4-track with splitters to make it an 8-track, which worked, but not for mixing purposes, but it worked really well for what it was. But yeah, I mean, really, that's it. There's really not much more you need to record. In all honesty, you can just record on a phone if you really wanted to. You can just put on the audio, whatever they call voice memos. That's it. You can just open voice memos and literally record something. I have stuff that I've recorded in here. Like anytime I'm writing stuff and I want to do like just real quick, I don't want to lose the idea, I will open this up, voice memo, and just record. And I have my idea. It doesn't sound wonderful? No, but it sounds good enough. I can hear it clearly. I know what I'm playing, and if I need to then go back to it to put it into my DAW, I have it right here for reference. So I don't forget the riffs. I have so many on here. That's all this is. It's like melodies, riff ideas, new recording. Sometimes I don't even title it because I'm just in a rush. Cool progression, some ideas for another song, instrumental idea, whatever comes to my mind at that time. That's what I'll write in there. I'll record it, and I usually put the date, even though it does tell you the date under it. I put it in the title anyway. I just like to do that. It's a good habit, I think. Until I title a song, I usually title it with the date. So it'll be like new song 10. Today's the 27th of October. When you see this video, it'll be later because I have a couple videos coming out before this one. So I usually I'm going to push this one off a little bit just so I can edit it a little better and not put my videos so close together. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, the most important thing you can do is just record your stuff so that you don't lose it. Having better equipment just gives you a better quality recording. You can get a really good quality recording with cheaper gear. It's just if you use it the right way. They used to say this at Berklee all the time. The equipment doesn't make the player. Although it does help, but it doesn't make the player, because a great player can play great on a cheap piece of equipment. So with recording, it's all about trial and error. Use what you have, play around with sounds, get it to sound decent. It doesn't have to sound amazing, just has to sound good enough until you can get something better, or it just could sound good enough and you can be happy with it. So that's really the name of the game. It's just getting it recorded so you don't lose it. Because I have songs I've written years and years ago, and if I didn't have them recorded, they would be long gone from here. So, because I don't play them anymore, I just have them. I just have like a library of stuff that I've written. Some of the stuff good, some of the stuff not good. So it's just, it's all with the time. So if you want to record, just do it. You don't need crazy stuff. It's taken me years to build up this studio, which doesn't have the best top of the line stuff. I have what I need. I'd like to think it's a minimalist studio, considering I have an audio interface, I have very little plugins, I have a bunch of guitars, but I have a couple guitars. Some people I've seen have 30, 40 guitars. I have 8. I don't need any more than that. I like guitars. If I find one I really like, maybe I'll buy it. I have 2 basses. I have one 5-string. I have one 4-string. I don't need anything more than that. I have one really good microphone. I have a Shure SM57. It's not cheap, but it's a decent microphone. But it's a cheaper microphone. It's not meant for just recording. It's meant for live and everything else. So it's a good quality microphone for what it is. I have that. That's it. I don't need anything else. For video recording, I borrowed my son's Blue Yeti microphone. I use that. I don't really ever use the Audio Technica for video recording. I only use that one for singing and playing guitar through it and stuff like that. For recording, I have like handheld ones and things like that. I mean, clip-on mics and things like that. But I think we're good here. I hope that this video helped you figure out some stuff about recording. Like I said in a previous video, there are millions of videos on YouTube for setting up your own home recording studio. I'm just showing you what I use and how it helps me. A lot of the things I have, I'd be fine without them, honestly. I've just over the years accumulated stuff that I like to use, and I actually make it a little easier. That's all. Like the Stream Deck, it's not something I need. It's something I like, and I don't need it, but it's cool. The MIDI controller, I don't need it. I can program everything in MIDI, or I can play it on the piano and just record it. That piano does not have MIDI. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it helped you. I will see you guys soon. Take care.